The vast expanse of space stretched endlessly before Earth's orbital defense station Alpha, where Admiral Park maintained his vigilant watch over humanity's frontline defense. The station's reinforced windows offered an unobstructed view of Earth below, its blue-white surface a constant reminder of what they protected. The regular hum of machinery and quiet chatter of crew members filled the command center, creating a familiar atmosphere of controlled efficiency. Everything changed when the sensors lit up like a Christmas tree. "Unknown contacts detected, sir." Lieutenant Hand's usually steady voice carried a note of urgency. "Multiple vessels approaching from the Kuiper Belt. Configuration unknown. Nothing in our database matches their design." Admiral Park straightened his back, his weathered face reflecting decades of military service. "Show me," he commanded, and the main display flickered to life with high-resolution images of the approaching ships. The vessels defied conventional spacecraft design. Instead of the expected metal and composite materials, they appeared almost organic, like giant sea creatures swimming through the void. Their hulls pulsed with a soft, bioluminescent glow that shifted in mesmerizing patterns. Most striking was their size. Each ship was massive, easily dwarfing Earth's largest space vessels. "Status of the defense grid?" Park asked, maintaining his calm demeanor despite the unprecedented situation. "All systems operational, sir. Weapon platforms are tracking but not locked." "Wait." Hand's fingers flew across his console. "Sir, we're receiving transmissions. Multiple frequencies, multiple formats. They're broadcasting in every human language simultaneously." The Admiral's eyebrows rose slightly, the only indication of his surprise. "Put it through." The main screen shifted to show an alien face that made everyone in the command center catch their breath. The being looked almost like a living crystal, with translucent skin that seemed to capture and reflect light in impossible ways. Large, almond-shaped eyes dominated a delicate face that appeared neither male nor female by human standards. The alien's features held an otherworldly beauty that seemed both fragile and timeless. "I am Dot of the Lumini." The alien spoke, its voice carrying musical undertones that seemed to touch something primitive and deep in the human brain. "We come in peace, seeking sanctuary." Admiral Park studied the alien's expression, drawing on years of diplomatic experience. "I am Admiral Park of Earth's Defense Force. Why have you come to Earth specifically?" The alien's skin rippled with colors that somehow conveyed distress. "We have traveled far, fleeing persecution." "The Galactic Alliance." Dodd paused, those strange eyes reflecting the station's lights. "They have branded us as evolutionary dead ends, unworthy of existence." The command center fell silent. Even the usual background chatter ceased as everyone processed these words. Park's mind raced through the implications. First contact with not just one alien civilization, but apparently multiple ones, and they arrived as refugees. "How many ships? How many of your people?" Park asked, already calculating logistics. "We are 17 vessels carrying approximately 12,000 souls," Day responded. "All that remains of our colony after the Alliance's first purge." Lieutenant Hand's console suddenly lit up with new alerts. "Sir, additional readings from their ships, multiple hull breaches, failing life support systems. Whatever happened to them, these ships are barely holding together." Park watched as more detailed scans appeared on his screen. The beautiful, organic-looking vessels were indeed in terrible condition. Beneath their glowing exterior, vast sections showed damage consistent with weapons fire. These weren't just refugees, they were survivors of an attack. "We need immediate medical assistance," Dai continued, the musical quality of their voice now carrying notes of desperation. "Many of our people are injured, and our children." The alien skin pulsed with darker colors. "We have nowhere else to go. Earth is our last hope." Admiral Park felt the weight of history on his shoulders. This decision would change humanity's future forever. He thought of Earth's own history, of refugees fleeing persecution, of those who turned them away and those who offered sanctuary. He thought of the responsibility that came with power and the duty to help those in need. He pressed the comm button that would connect him to Earth's United Defense Council. "This is Admiral Park. We have a situation that requires immediate attention. Prepare emergency medical facilities and alert all space dock personnel. We're about to have guests." Turning back to the screen, he addressed Da. "The Lumini are granted temporary asylum pending full diplomatic discussions. Please transmit your ship's specifications so we can arrange proper docking procedures." The relief on Da's face transcended species barriers. "Thank you, Admiral. You don't know what this means for our people." As the command center burst into activity, coordinating the massive effort required to receive these unexpected refugees, Park watched the alien ships draw closer. Their bioluminescent hulls created beautiful patterns against the starfield, like wounded fireflies seeking shelter in the night. "Sir," Lieutenant Hand said quietly, "do you think we're ready for this? For whatever might come after them?" Park kept his eyes on the approaching vessels. "Ready or not, Lieutenant, history has found us. And I, for one, would rather be remembered for showing compassion than turning our backs on those in need." The Lumini ships continued their approach, their lights pulsing like heartbeats in the void, as humanity prepared to take its first steps into a much larger, and apparently more dangerous, galaxy than anyone had imagined. Captain Li Jin ran her fingers through her short black hair, trying to fight off exhaustion as she reviewed her notes from another marathon session with the Lumini delegates. The temporary diplomatic quarters aboard the International Space Station had become her second home over the past week, its sterile white walls now decorated with holographic displays showing star charts and alien text. Across from her, Dai and his sister Mina sat in specially designed chairs that accommodated their delicate physiology. The siblings' translucent skin captured the station's lighting, creating subtle rainbow patterns that shifted with their movements. Jin had learned this was how they expressed their emotions. Right now, the dark undertones suggested deep worry. "Please tell me again about the Alliance's structure," Jin prompted, her recorder capturing every word. "We need to understand exactly what we're dealing with." Mina's voice carried the same musical quality as her brother's, but with a deeper resonance. "The Galactic Alliance consists of 17 major species, all of them evolved from apex predators on their homeworlds. They value physical strength above all else, which explains why they see you as a threat," Jin said, piecing together the puzzle. "Your species evolved prioritizing intelligence over physical prowess." "Correct." Day's skin rippled with patterns that Jin had learned to recognize as agreement. "Our bodies may be fragile by their standards, but our minds." He paused, searching for the right words. "We see the universe differently. We understand quantum mechanics in ways that let us manipulate reality itself. But to them, that means nothing without the ability to dominate through force." Jin leaned forward, her dark eyes intense. "But that's not the real reason they attacked your colony, is it?" The siblings exchanged glances, their skin patterns synchronizing in a way that suggested deep unease. Mina reached into a fold of her flowing garment and produced a small crystal, no larger than a thumb drive. "This contains the truth. We weren't supposed to find it, but our quantum computing capabilities let us decrypt their secure networks." As Mina inserted the crystal into the station's modified computer system, holographic displays filled the room. Jin's eyes widened as she saw transaction records, communication logs, and surveillance footage from across the galaxy. "The Alliance Council members have been stealing resources from developing worlds," Day explained, his voice heavy. "They've been manipulating evolution tests, declaring species as dead ends, not because of any real scientific criteria, but because their worlds contain valuable resources." The evidence was overwhelming. Jin watched footage of Alliance warships destroying peaceful settlements, their leaders later claiming the inhabitants were too weak to survive. Resource extraction ships would move in afterward, stripping the abandoned worlds bare. "They're running a galaxy-wide protection racket," Jin said, feeling sick to her stomach. Strong species pay tribute to avoid being labeled as evolutionary dead ends, while weaker ones are eliminated, Minna finished, her skin darkening to a deep indigo. We discovered this by accident. Our quantum computers were mapping quantum entanglement patterns across the galaxy when we noticed irregularities in resource transportation. Jin stood up and paced the room, her mind racing. So when you presented this evidence, they declared us an immediate threat, Day said. Not because we're weak, but because we could expose their corruption. They attacked without warning. We barely managed to evacuate a fraction of our people. The captain stopped at the window, looking down at Earth below. The beautiful blue planet seemed so peaceful from up here, unaware of the galactic crime syndicate operating in its cosmic neighborhood. How many other species have they destroyed to keep this secret? Mina's voice was barely a whisper. Hundreds, maybe thousands. Many weren't as fortunate as we were. They had nowhere to run. But why us? Jin turned back to face them. Why did you choose Earth for sanctuary? The siblings' skin patterns shifted to something Jin hadn't seen before. A complex swirl of colors that seemed to express hope and admiration simultaneously. Because you're unique, Dad explained. We've been watching Earth for decades. Your species is physically stronger than us, yet you value intelligence and compassion. You understand warfare but choose peace when possible. You protect the weak rather than exploit them. You're everything the Alliance claims to be, but isn't. Jin felt the weight of this revelation settle on her shoulders. Earth wasn't just taking in refugees, it was potentially positioning itself against a corrupt galactic power structure that had been operating unchecked for centuries. The Alliance will come for you eventually, Minna said softly. They can't risk letting us survive, especially now that we've shared this information with another species. Then we better make sure we're ready when they do, Jin replied, her voice firm. She activated her communication link to Earth's United Defense Council. This is Captain Lee Jin. Priority 1 situation. I need an emergency session immediately. What I'm about to share will change everything we thought we knew about our place in the galaxy. As she began composing her report, Jin watched the Lumini siblings. Their skin had taken on a warmer hue, suggesting relief at finally sharing their burden. She realized that humanity's first steps into galactic society wouldn't be as explorers or traders, but as protectors of the innocent and challengers of corruption. It wasn't the role anyone had expected, but looking at the evidence of the Alliance's crimes, Jin knew it was a role humanity had been preparing for throughout its entire history. The real question was, would Earth's strength and determination be enough to stand against an empire built on 10,000 years of oppression? Dr. Kim wiped his glasses for the third time in 10 minutes, still unable to believe what he was seeing in the laboratory. The Lumini scientist before him had just manipulated quantum particles with the casual ease of a child playing with building blocks. The newly constructed quantum research facility, built specifically for human Lumini collaboration, hummed with energy as experiments that should have been impossible unfolded before his eyes. "Do that again, please," he requested, his voice filled with wonder. The Lumini researcher, a young scientist named Sue, obliged. Her translucent hands moved through the quantum field projector, and suddenly individual atoms danced to her will, forming complex patterns in three-dimensional space. "It's really quite simple," Sue explained, her skin glowing with subtle patterns that Dr. Kim had learned indicated enthusiasm. "We don't force the quantum particles to behave. We ask them nicely." Dr. Kim laughed at the explanation, but his mind was already racing with possibilities. Around them, other human scientists and engineers watched with equal fascination. Young Engineer Park was frantically taking notes, while Dr. Song recorded everything on specialized equipment. "But how do you maintain quantum coherence at room temperature?" Dr. Kim asked, pointing to the stable patterns floating in the air. "We've been trying to solve that problem for decades." Day, who had been observing from nearby, stepped forward. His tall, ethereal form moved with careful grace in Earth's gravity. "That's what fascinates us about humans," he said. You try to solve quantum mechanics with mathematics and force. We learn to feel it, to understand it as part of nature's dance. Dr. Kim watched as Sue demonstrated again, this time creating a miniature solar system of quantum particles. "We've been approaching this all wrong," he muttered, scratching notes into his tablet. "We've been trying to build quantum computers by forcing particles into states, but you're showing us we need to work with their natural tendencies." Exactly. Sue's skin flickered with bright patterns of joy. "But what amazes us is how quickly you adapt and innovate. We spent centuries perfecting these techniques, but you're already thinking of ways to improve them." Engineer Park suddenly spoke up from his workstation. "What if we combined your quantum manipulation techniques with our existing superconductor technology? We could create quantum circuits that work at normal temperatures." The excitement in the room was palpable. Human and Lumini scientists gathered around Park's drafting table, where he quickly sketched out his idea. Dr. Kim watched as two very different approaches to science began merging into something entirely new. "This is just the beginning," Day said, his large eyes reflecting the laboratory's lights. "Your species has such an unusual way of thinking. Where we seek perfect harmony with quantum forces, you see opportunities to bend them in new directions. It's refreshing." Dr. Kim nodded, understanding what Day meant. The Lumini approached science like artists or philosophers, seeking to understand and work within nature's rules. Humans, on the other hand, looked for ways to push boundaries and find unconventional solutions. Over the next few hours, the laboratory buzzed with activity. Engineer Song successfully combined Lumini quantum control techniques with Earth's crude but effective electromagnetic fields, creating a hybrid system that could manipulate matter at the atomic level. Dr. Kim worked with Sue to develop a new theoretical framework that bridged the gap between human and Lumini understanding of physics. "Look at this," Park called out, pointing to his screen. "If we apply these principles to our defensive systems, we could create shields that don't just block attacks. They could redirect energy at the quantum level." Day moved to examine Park's calculations, his skin shifting to patterns of deep thought. Yes, this could work. We never thought to use quantum manipulation defensively. We always focused on harmony, not protection." Dr. Kim watched as more ideas flowed. Human engineers proposed practical applications for Lumini theories that the aliens had never considered, while the Lumini helped refine and perfect these innovations with their deep understanding of quantum mechanics. "Your people truly are remarkable," Da said to Dr. Kim as they observed the collaboration. "You see problems, and instead of searching for the perfect solution, you find 100 imperfect ones that somehow work better. It's not just about the science. It's about survival, adaptation, and never giving up." Dr. Kim smiled, thinking about humanity's history of innovation through necessity. "We had to be creative to survive on Earth. Our planet wasn't always kind to us, so we learned to be resourceful." As the day progressed, the fruits of their collaboration began taking physical form. Prototype devices combining Lumini quantum manipulation with human engineering filled the laboratory tables. Each one represented a step forward in defense technology that neither species could have achieved alone. "The Alliance won't expect this," Sue said softly, her skin patterns showing both hope and concern. "They think of us as weak theorists and you as primitive warriors. They don't understand what we can achieve together." Dr. Kim looked at the quantum shield prototype glowing softly on his workbench. It represented more than just a defensive technology. It was proof that different approaches to understanding the universe could create something greater than the sum of its parts. "Let them underestimate us," he replied, his voice firm with conviction. "Sometimes the best solutions come from the most unexpected combinations." Around them, humans and Lumini continued their work, building the foundations of a scientific revolution that would soon change the balance of power in the galaxy. Their different perspectives and methods weren't weaknesses to be overcome, but strengths to be combined. In the Grand Assembly Hall of the United Nations, the tension was thick enough to cut with a knife. Emergency lights cast an ominous red glow across the faces of world leaders gathered for this crucial session. General Yoon stood at the podium, his weathered face grave as he faced the assembled representatives of Earth's nations. 45 minutes ago, we received this transmission from the Galactic Alliance, he announced, his voice echoing through the hushed chamber. The holographic display behind him flickered to life, showing a massive alien figure. The Alliance representative belonged to a species that looked like a cross between a bear and a reptile, with armored scales and prominent fangs. People of Earth, the alien's translated voice boomed through the speakers. You harbor criminals and evolutionary failures. The Lumini are condemned by galactic law. Surrender them within one standard rotation of your planet, or face the consequences of defying the Alliance. Murmurs rippled through the assembly hall. Commander Kang rose from her seat, her military uniform crisp despite the late hour. The threat is clear, she said, addressing her fellow leaders. But so is our duty. Humanity has seen this before. Powerful forces demanding we hand over those seeking sanctuary. On the massive screen, tactical displays showed the movement of Alliance warships. They were still far out in the solar system, but their numbers were growing. Earth's newly established defense force had tracked 30 capital ships so far, with more arriving every hour. Mina, the Lumini representative, stepped forward. Her translucent skin pulsed with dark colors of concern as she interfaced with Earth's computer systems. New images appeared on the screen, recordings from dozens of worlds where the Alliance had enacted their evolutionary guidance policies. This is Kepler 186, she said softly, showing a once beautiful world reduced to mining pits. The native species were philosophers and artists. The Alliance declared them unfit and seized their world for resources. More images followed, each telling a similar story of destruction and displacement. Commander Kang watched the evidence with growing determination. We've spent the last 3 months preparing for this possibility, she said, bringing up displays of Earth's new defensive capabilities. Thanks to our cooperation with the Lumini, we've made unprecedented advances in military technology. The displays showed Earth's orbital defense platforms, now enhanced with quantum shield technology. Surface-to-space weapons incorporated principles that the Lumini had theorized but never weaponized. Humanity had taken their peaceful discoveries and found ways to protect themselves. The Alliance believes we're primitive, General Yoon added. Their scans can't detect our quantum-based defenses. They expect to find a helpless world they can bully into submission. A representative from Brazil stood up. But can we win? They've conquered entire civilizations more advanced than ours. Mina's skin patterns shifted to something more complex. The Alliance has never faced anything like humanity, she said. They don't understand your greatest strength, your ability to unite and adapt in the face of threats. Every species they've conquered fought alone. You fight together. Tactical Officer Lee stepped forward with the latest intelligence. We've detected them testing our outer system defenses, she reported. Small probe ships. So far, our quantum camouflage is working. They can't see our real military capabilities. The assembly erupted in discussion. Some argued for negotiation, others for immediate military action. Commander Kang waited for the noise to settle before speaking again. I've studied Earth's history of conflicts, she said firmly. Time and again, appeasement of aggressive powers has failed. If we surrender the Lumini, we're not just betraying them. We're showing the galaxy that humanity can be intimidated. The Alliance will never stop demanding more. General Yoon nodded in agreement. Our choice is simple but not easy. We fight now, on our terms, with the advantage of surprise. Or we submit and eventually face them anyway, after they've had time to assess our weaknesses. The Secretary General called for a vote. The results were clear. Earth would stand its ground. As the decision was recorded, Commander Kang began issuing orders through her neural link. Defense platforms powered up across the solar system. Earth's combined fleet moved into position, their new quantum drives allowing them to hide in plain sight. The Alliance gives us 1 day, Kang announced to the assembly. We'll use it well. Every hour strengthens our position. Let them think we're just stubborn primitives. When they come to teach us a lesson, they'll learn one instead. Minna watched the humans prepare for war with mixed emotions showing in her skin patterns. "We never wanted to bring conflict to your world," she said to Commander Kang. "You didn't bring it," Kang replied, studying the tactical displays. "The Alliance was always going to find us eventually. Better we face them now, with allies who understand their weaknesses, then alone later." As the emergency session concluded, the assembled leaders moved with purpose. Earth had made its choice. The next few days would determine not just humanity's fate, but perhaps the future of the galaxy itself. In orbit, Earth's defense fleet waited silently, their quantum shields making them invisible to Alliance sensors. The storm was gathering, but this time, the prey was ready for the predators. Space rippled like disturbed water as the Alliance warships tore through the fabric of reality, emerging from hyperspace near Earth's moon. Their massive vessels, each the size of a small city, moved with predatory grace. In the lead ship's command center, Admiral Vex of the Alliance felt nothing but contempt for the primitive world before him. Captain Choi watched from the cockpit of her quantum-enhanced fighter, her squadron hidden within a fold of space-time that the Lumini had taught them to create. The Alliance ships couldn't see them. Their sensors passed right through the quantum bubble as if it wasn't there. "All squadrons, maintain quantum silence," she whispered into her neural link. Around her, 50 of Earth's best pilots waited in their next-generation fighters, each vessel a perfect blend of human ingenuity and Lumini science. The Alliance's initial transmission boomed across all frequencies. "Primitive world, you have defied the Alliance. Prepare to witness the consequences of your arrogance." Choi smiled as she watched their formation. The Alliance warships arranged themselves in a standard attack pattern, spreading out to begin orbital bombardment. They hadn't even bothered to launch their fighters. This was meant to be a simple display of force against a helpless world. "Time to show them how primitive we are," Choi transmitted to her squadrons. "Execute Operation Quantum Strike." The space around the Alliance fleet suddenly came alive. 50 points of light burst into existence as Earth's fighters dropped their quantum camouflage. But instead of appearing in a single location, each fighter seemed to exist in multiple places at once, a trick of quantum entanglement that the Lumini had theorized and human engineers had turned into a weapon. "What sorcery is this?" The Alliance Admiral's confused voice leaked across their communication channels as their sensors tried to make sense of what they were seeing. Choi's fighter led the charge, her consciousness merged with her ship through a neural interface. The quantum drive hummed as she executed maneuvers that should have been impossible, her ship appearing to be in 3 places simultaneously. Alliance point defense systems couldn't track her. They couldn't decide which version of her ship was real. "All fighters, engage as planned," she ordered. "Show them what humanity can do." The space around Earth erupted into chaos. Earth's fighters danced through the Alliance formation, each pilot controlling multiple quantum shadows of their ship. Laser fire passed harmlessly through false images, while real ships struck from unexpected angles. The Alliance's mighty warships, designed to fight conventional battles, found themselves unable to target an enemy that refused to obey the normal laws of physics. "Impossible." The Alliance Admiral's voice crackled with rage. "These primitives can't have this technology. The Lumini never weaponized their theories. That's because they never met humans before." Choi muttered as she led her squadron in another impossible maneuver. Her fighters split into 3 groups, or appeared to, surrounding an Alliance cruiser. The massive ship's weapons tracked back and forth, unable to determine which targets were real and which were quantum ghosts. The battle continued to unfold like a dance choreographed in quantum probability. Alliance ships, unable to effectively target Earth's fighters, began firing blindly into space. Their powerful weapons found nothing but empty vacuum as Earth's defenders shifted between quantum states, attacking from angles that shouldn't have existed. "Squadron 3, execute Quantum Swarm," Choi commanded. A group of fighters suddenly multiplied into what appeared to be hundreds of copies, each one a quantum possibility made manifest for a split second. The Alliance crews, their sensors overwhelmed, couldn't distinguish real threats from quantum echoes. The tide turned decisively when Earth's orbital defense platforms revealed themselves. Hidden in quantum bubbles, they had been invisible to Alliance scans. Now they emerged, their weapons enhanced with Lumini principles that the Alliance had dismissed as mere theory. "This is impossible," the Alliance Admiral transmitted again, his voice now tinged with fear. "You're supposed to be primitives. You're not supposed to have this level of technology." Choi allowed herself a grim smile as she led another attack run. "You made two mistakes," she transmitted back. "You assumed we were primitive because we're young, and you thought the Lumini's theories weren't dangerous because they never used them as weapons." The Alliance fleet began to break formation. Their mighty ships, unable to effectively fight an enemy they couldn't properly target, started retreating to safer distances. Several vessels showed significant damage where real fighters had struck through their confusion. "All Earth forces, press the advantage," Choi ordered. "Don't let them regroup." The battle that was supposed to be a simple show of force had turned into a humiliating defeat for the Alliance. Their mighty warships, each capable of destroying a continent, were being driven back by fighters they couldn't properly see or fight. As the Alliance fleet retreated in disarray, Choi led her squadrons in one final display. The fighters arranged themselves in a perfect sphere around the fleeing ships, each fighter splitting into multiple quantum images until it appeared that Earth's forces numbered in the thousands. "Take this message back to your Alliance," Choi transmitted. "Earth is not primitive, and we are not helpless. We have united Lumini theory with human innovation. If you return, you'll find we're just getting started." The Alliance ships vanished into hyperspace, leaving behind only debris from their damaged vessels as evidence of the battle. As Earth's fighters dropped their quantum effects and returned to normal space, cheers erupted across all channels. Captain Choi looked down at her homeworld, still peaceful and blue below. The Alliance had expected to find an easy target, a primitive world that would quickly submit to their power. Instead, they had discovered that humanity's greatest strength wasn't in their weapons, but in their ability to take peaceful theories and find new ways to use them. "All squadrons, return to base," she ordered, knowing this was only the beginning. The Alliance would be back, and next time they wouldn't underestimate Earth. But that was fine. Humanity would be ready, and they had more surprises waiting. Officer Nam stood at the galaxy's largest refugee processing center, watching as another alien ship descended through Earth's atmosphere. This vessel belonged to the Aetheri, beings of pure energy who had been declared too unstable by the Alliance. Their ship glowed with subtle patterns that reminded Nam of the auroras she used to watch as a child. "That makes 17 different species this month alone," her assistant remarked, updating the holographic registry. The massive processing center, built in what used to be the Australian outback, now housed representatives from dozens of civilizations seeking Earth's protection. Nam walked through the facility's main corridor, passing beings of all shapes and sizes. Some floated in anti-gravity fields, others moved on multiple legs, while a few existed as pure energy contained in special suits. Each species had brought their own tragic story of Alliance oppression, but more importantly, each brought unique knowledge and abilities. "Officer Nam," a voice called out. She turned to see Zari, a representative of the crystalline Meridian species, approaching. Like all Meridians, Zuri's body was composed of living crystal that sparkled with internal light. "We've completed analyzing the Alliance's financial networks using our crystalline computing methods." Nam followed Zari to the facility's central command room, where representatives from various species gathered around a massive holographic display. The Lumini delegates, Dai and Mina, were already there, their translucent skin showing patterns of excitement. "Look at this," Zeri said, interfacing directly with the display through his crystalline form. "The Alliance's corruption goes deeper than we thought. They're not just stealing resources, they're manipulating entire economies. The holographic display filled with complex patterns of data, each thread representing financial transactions across thousands of worlds. The Meridian's unique way of processing information through crystal matrices had revealed patterns that traditional computing had missed. "We can use this," Nam said, studying the data. "The Etheri can transmit this information instantly across vast distances through their energy networks. The Alliance won't be able to stop the truth from spreading." A new alarm sounded, and Nam turned to see another ship entering Earth's space. This one belonged to the synthetics, artificial beings who had evolved naturally on their world only to be declared abominations by the Alliance. "The coalition grows stronger each day," Min observed, her skin patterns showing hope. The Alliance never imagined their victims would unite like this. Nam watched as more representatives joined the gathering. The Etheri's energy form pulsed with information, while the synthetics' quantum processors analyzed attack patterns. The Meridians processed data through their crystal networks, and the Lumini added their theoretical insights. "We've got something," announced one of the synthetic representatives, their metallic form gleaming under the lights. "By combining our quantum processing with Meridian crystal computing, we've identified a critical weakness in the Alliance's defense network." The display shifted to show the Alliance's main command structure. Their mighty empire, built on force and fear, had never considered that their victims might combine their knowledge and abilities in new ways. "Their entire network relies on quantum-encrypted communications," the synthetic explained. "But they never imagined someone would combine crystal computing with energy-based transmission methods. We can break their encryption." Nam felt a surge of pride as she watched the various species working together. Earth had become more than just a sanctuary. It had become a crucible where different approaches and technologies merged into something new and powerful. "We've received word from within Alliance space," an Etheri representative announced, their energy form flickering with excitement. "More worlds are questioning their authority. Our evidence of corruption is spreading faster than they can suppress it." The command room buzzed with activity as reports came in from across the galaxy. The Alliance's iron grip was beginning to slip. Worlds that had lived in fear for centuries were beginning to see hope, all because Earth had shown that resistance was possible. Officer Nam called out a young human aide. The combined technologies of multiple species activated simultaneously. The Etheri's energy network carried the signal faster than light itself. Meridian crystal matrices protected it from interference. Lumini quantum theory allowed it to bypass Alliance blockades, and human determination ensured it reached every corner of the galaxy. Across thousands of worlds, the truth began to emerge. The Alliance's carefully maintained image of strength and justice crumbled as citizens saw the evidence of their leaders' corruption. Videos showed peaceful worlds destroyed for their resources. Financial records revealed massive theft. Communications logs exposed centuries of manipulation and lies. In the Alliance's central chamber, chaos erupted as the evidence appeared on every screen. The mighty council members, who had lorded their power over others for so long, found themselves facing the outrage of their own people. Back on Earth, Admiral Park watched the events unfold from the orbital command station. Though his hair had turned white, and his face showed the weight of years, his eyes remained sharp as ever. The station's quantum screens showed scenes from across the galaxy as the Alliance's power structure collapsed. "Their own people are turning against them," observed a young officer. "The Alliance fleet commanders are standing down." Park nodded, remembering that first day when the Lumini had arrived seeking sanctuary. "Truth," he said quietly, "is the one weapon they never developed a defense against." The next few days passed in a blur of activity. As the Alliance's authority crumbled, Earth became the natural gathering point for species seeking to build something new. The Great Assembly Hall, specially constructed to accommodate beings of all forms, filled with representatives from across the galaxy. The final signing ceremony brought together the largest gathering of diverse species in galactic history. Beings of crystal stood next to energy forms. Synthetic life forms shared space with organic entities. Former enemies found common ground in their desire for a better future. Director Shin presented the new charter, its principles simple but revolutionary. All species had value, regardless of their physical form or natural abilities. Power would be shared, not hoarded. Diversity would be celebrated, not suppressed. Admiral Park watched from his place of honor as representatives came forward to sign. Each species added their mark in their own way. Some with light, others with energy patterns, some with crystalline signatures, and humans with simple ink on paper. "Did you ever imagine this day would come?" Dai asked, standing beside Park. The Lumini's skin glowed with joy. Park shook his head. "When you first arrived, I just wanted to help refugees. I never dreamed we'd end up rebuilding the galaxy." The chamber erupted in applause as the final signature was added. The new Galactic Coalition was born, not through conquest or force, but through cooperation and mutual respect. As the celebration continued, Park noticed younger officers watching him. They would carry this legacy forward, ensuring that Earth remained true to its new role as protector of galactic equality. "You know," Park said to Day, "they called you Helpless." Day's skin rippled with amusement. "We were," he replied, "until we found the one species stubborn enough to help us stand up again." Director Shin joined them, watching the diverse gathering of species interacting peacefully. "The Alliance thought strength only came from physical power," she said. "They never understood that real strength comes from standing together." As the celebration continued into the night, Earth's cities glowed with welcome for beings from across the stars. The planet that had once been considered primitive now stood as a beacon of hope, proof that sometimes the strongest hand is the one reached out in friendship. In orbit, ships of all designs and origins moved peacefully through space. The quantum defense platforms that had once stood ready for war now served as navigation beacons, guiding new friends to humanity's home. The galaxy had changed forever, not through force of arms, but through the simple power of truth and cooperation. And at the center of it all stood Earth, no longer alone in the universe, but surrounded by allies who had discovered that true strength comes in many forms. The end.